housing justice. He is a born and raised Seattleite who is also a UW grad. So please welcome, presenting momentarily.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Good to be here. I'm Josh Castle. I'm the Community Engagement Director with Lehigh. I'm here to tell you a little bit about Lehigh, our village program, and then get into some specifics about what's going on in the South End and what's going on with this new village that we're planning. I have some exciting stuff to share and just want to plug you guys into what's going on and see if there's any interest in for anybody in being involved. So let me share my screen. Let me see if I can, oh, I think I have to, somebody has to enable my screen share.
I'll make you a co-host right now.
Awesome,
Make
thank you.
co-host.
And I've got a cat and a dog in here and everything, so hopefully they'll let me get through this uninterrupted.
Okay, is that working now?
Yes, it is. All right. All right, let me pull this up. Let me put it on slideshow. I can see that. Almost there. All right, can you guys see that?
Yes.
Great, okay. Okay, so a quick snapshot about what Lehigh is. So we are an affordable housing provider. We've been doing this for 31 years now. We have over 3,000 units of affordable housing across the region in 6 counties, about 74 buildings at this point. We also have 2 urban rest stop hygiene centers in the U District and, I'm sorry, in Ballard and downtown. We used to have one in the U District. We're trying to get another one going again. And these provide laundry, showers, and bathrooms for our unsheltered neighbors. And we have 16 tiny house villages across the region providing shelter, enhanced shelter, and a path to permanent housing for individuals, couples, families, and people with pets. So one thing that we do a lot of is we build a lot of permanent affordable housing. This is a shot of the clay apartments that we set up. We're celebrating, I think, the year anniversary of the clay apartments. This opened last year in around March. That's the ribbon cutting that took place. And then we took a building and named it after the late legendary, former Senator George Fleming. So we have George Fleming Place. This is in the Othello area, and George Fleming was just before he passed away. He was able to join us for a picture in front of the building, which was a really nice occasion. Oh, sorry, went backward. I'm gonna go the other direction. All right. So here's a look of one of the affordable housing projects. This is going to be a site that we're building at right where Othello Tiny House Village is currently located. So that's been in the works for a while. So we're really happy that we're getting close to finally, we've secured the financing and things are coming along. We've got a lot of federal financing coming in, that thanks to Congressman Adam Smith. And so we're really excited about getting this going. So we're going to have the groundbreaking of that at some point. And I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to be able to see you, so I can see my whole screen. So this is going to be 148 units. This is going to be, with a lot of large families included in here. And then it's going to have early childhood learning center as well, including 6 classroom spaces. Here we go. Okay, so just some details about our tiny house village program. We have 16 villages across the region, a total of 626 tiny houses. We're actually adding another 20 tiny houses to Camp Second Chance in West Seattle. So soon that'll be getting up to about 650. And that's in Seattle, that's in Skyway, which is unincorporated King County, just outside Seattle, as you know. That's Tacoma, Olympia, and Bellingham. We have, we have 2 in Tacoma, 2 in Olympia, and 1 in Bellingham, 10 in Seattle. We're working on the 11th, which I'm going to tell you about tonight. And then we have 1 in Skyway. So this provided a safe, COVID-safe enhanced shelter, which was really important during the pandemic because if you're in a space that, each tiny house is 8 by 12 feet, it's insulated, has heat, electricity, and a locking door. If you're inside a space like that and you're not sharing aerospace with others, it really protects you from, being exposed to, being exposed to diseases that are out there. And other things that other environmental factors. So it really is helpful with that. So the villages also include hygiene and kitchen facilities and community spaces and offices for on-site staff. The villages serve populations that a lot of traditional shelters do not serve, such as families, couples, and people with pets. The tiny houses, they're built by neighbors, volunteers, businesses, schools, faith organizations, a lot of pre-apprenticeship programs, students that are building tiny houses to get into construction fields and into living wage jobs. Each are fully furnished. They include a mattress, bedding, storage, a safe heater, and a welcome kit with other essential items. We also abide by all fire safety standards. So each tiny house has a carbon monoxide and smoke detector combo, and there's fire extinguishers distributed throughout the village. We're building tiny houses in our Hope Factory in the Soto neighborhood. So feel free to come out. They're there almost every day of the week. They're actually there every day but Friday, but we're trying to come up with a plan to have volunteers in there Friday as well. So we're really going to be in there pretty much every day of the week pretty soon. So anyone who's interested, let me know and I can hook you up with them to get started. So these, I should just say that this is Sound Foundations Northwest we partner with on here. And they built their 200th tiny house. They just celebrated that recently. And they teach people who have no construction experience or little construction experience, which would describe me, how to build tiny houses. So, so feel free to, no matter what skill level you're at, they want to show you how to do it. Couple tiny house villages across the region. We have True Hope Village at 18th and Yesler, which is a co-sponsorship between True Vine of Holiness Missionary Baptist Church and New Hope Missionary Baptist Church. So we combined it together to call it True Hope. There's TC Spirit Village. This is sponsored by the Christ Spirit Church at 22nd and Cherry. Both True Hope and TC Spirit specifically provide enhanced shelter for African American, Native American, and Alaskan Native people experiencing homelessness who are overrepresented in the homeless population and severely underserved. We also have Othello Village. This is the village that has been open the longest, and as in the one, it's the village that's sponsored. I'm sorry, that's funded by the city of Seattle that's been open the longest. This is Rosie's Village in the U District on, let's see, your Sound Transit property. And this opened pretty recently, several months ago. So really excited to serve a lot of like young adults experiencing homelessness in the U District through this site. Not too long ago, last year, we opened Progressive Skyway Village, which is the only village so far in King County that is outside of Seattle and the only village funded by King County. King County Councilmember Gurmai Zahalai was a huge leader in that effort and helped push that through the council. We also have a religious sponsor here, the Seattle Word of God Church, which is Pastor Curtis Taylor and Minister Kathy Taylor. And then Senator Rebecca Saldana came out and visited our site as well. We have a big support from the community in Skyway, including the Skyway Coalition, which was a huge part of advocating for this village and supporting the residents in the long term. I'm just going to give you a few kind of shots of what the village looks like on the outside and the inside, and then we'll get into the operations, case management, and then I'll tell you a little bit about South End. So this is how it looks like on the front. There's a perimeter fence. There's lattice on top of it, really nice looking lattice. There's only one way to get in and out, and everyone has to sign in and out when they at that security desk that you can see right there from that window. And we have 24-hour staff watching it throughout the day and the week. So it's a very secure village. We also have, I should say, we have an emergency exit as well in case that happens. Here's the inside look of a tiny house. You can see the bedding. The floors are always really nice looking. The curtains, by the way, are made by a lot of community organizations and churches. They like to sew and make these curtains and donate them to us, which is really kind of them. Here's the inside look of a community kitchen. We have a fridge, a freezer, coffee maker, very important, a coffee maker, the microwave. There's places to eat and just join in community over meals. Hygiene facility exists for each village site. This includes showers, laundry. Laundry exists for all the villages as well, and bathrooms. And these are all ADA accessible. This facility and all community facilities and many of the tiny houses are ADA accessible. Here's a site of look of a couple of our offices. This is one of the inside of the office of a village operations manager. That's EJ sitting there, who's the VOM of Rosie's, and then the case management office on the right. Here's our staff team. This represents folks who work for the case management department, for operations, development of the villages, finance department, HR, everyone else that are all a part of getting these villages going and supporting hiring of staff and supporting of residents. So let me tell you a little bit about South End Village. So this is located 9101 Martin Luther King Jr. Way South. This is very close, just a minute or two walk from the light rail station. It's sponsored by True Vine of Holiness Missionary Baptist Church. Refugee Women's Alliance will be providing the case management and behavioral health to support the residents in their journey to get into housing. We work really closely with the Rainier Beach Action Coalition, which just gave us a really great workshop the other day of crime prevention through environmental design. So they walked our staff through that a few days ago, and many other organizations in the South Seattle and Rainier Beach community. There's going to be 40 tiny houses serving up to 55 people. That's going to include families, couples, individuals, and people with pets. And the hygiene facilities, well, just like with all the other villages, they have restrooms, showers, and laundry, a community kitchen, and spaces for meeting, dining, and gatherings. All spaces are ADA accessible. And then we'll have offices for 24/7 operations staff and case management staff, along with the 6-foot perimeter fence. This is Pastor Lawrence Willis. He wears many hats. He is the United Black Christian Clergy of Seattle. He's the lead of that group. And he's the sponsor of, this would be the, let's see, I think it would be the 3rd village that he's sponsoring. And so we're really grateful for his support and all the community connections and volunteers and generosity that he brings to these sites. So we're going to partner with Reverend Willis and True Vine to manage the village. The village will serve African American, immigrant and refugee populations, and by other BIPOC communities in Rainier Beach, in the Rainier Beach area experiencing homelessness. Referrals are going to come from True Vine, from REWA, and many other Rainier Beach and South Seattle community organizations. At this point, I think we're going to have about 6 or 7 agencies providing referrals. And then this again will have 24/7 operational staff around the clock, a village operations manager, village organizers who provide that support when the village operations manager isn't there throughout the week and over the weekend, and then the case manager providing services and support to the residents. So we do have a code of conduct that we enforce. Residents have to agree to abide by that, the rules in the code of conduct as a condition of staying at the site and being served by the program. And then we also have grievance procedures in place to address any resident concerns that come up. So again, REWA is going to provide the case management, the wraparound services. Full-time case managers will work on site. They're going to support the residents with all range of services, including employment, healthcare, childcare, education, getting IDs. So a lot of folks come in if they don't have any documentation or any ID. They might have lost it through a police sweep, or they might have lost it along the way somehow. And that's a huge challenge. If you have no way to prove who you are, you don't have an ID or documentation, you can't apply for housing, you can't apply for work, you can't apply for any kind of benefits. So they walk them through that complicated process of how to get those things when you don't have those things to begin with, which can take a few months. So usually what happens is somebody comes into a village, they just need to take a breath and recover, take a little time to recover from the trauma of just having come from homelessness. And you just have that little bit of time. And then they start thinking about what's next, and they start working with a case manager, getting the documentation together, and then looking out at what housing is available. Maybe it's being, reuniting with their family. Maybe they were with family somewhere and that got frayed along the way, or some friends. So we make those connections happen to reunite them. Or we look for like any housing that's out there that's available, affordable housing, even market rate housing might work in some cases. So they'll go and just look at whatever is available and help them apply for the housing and look for what's out there. So residents, they are required to work with the case manager as outlined in the code of conduct. And the villages, the whole point of the program is to recover from the trauma of living outside and from everything that entails. But then the whole point is to go from that take that big step from homelessness to permanent housing. So that's what the villages serve, and the case managers are really the crucial element to make that happen. So we really believe strongly in supporting and empowering residents and giving them all the tools they need to succeed and just helping them all along the way, no matter where they're at. And we treat them each as an individual. There's no arbitrary timelines to stay at a village, which I get that question a lot. Everybody is kind of on their own journey, and we're just helping them out with everything they need. So last year when we looked at the numbers, we sheltered 745 people through the village program. Over 2,500 people have been served since the beginning in 2015. Last year, 56% of residents exiting found homes, and that was 50% into permanent housing and 6% into transitional. So the villages do have the highest success rate year after year at getting residents from homelessness to permanent housing, and they have the highest success rate of exit to permanent housing of all of their shelter programs. The median length of stay in villages is 114 days. So my job, and I'm meeting with you tonight, and that's part of what I do, is I do outreach to the community. I meet with community groups who are interested in learning more and finding out ways that can help. So one thing is we share with everybody that whenever we're planning a village in a community, we are committed to being a good neighbor, and we want to actually enhance the look of a neighborhood and increase the services and get folks who are currently homeless in their community inside. So we want to really enhance the community. We organize a public community meeting to plan for the future site. We do this for every village. We sometimes have a couple of those to plan for to basically share out information on the village and answer questions and concerns that come up and present the plan. And we invite everybody to those meetings, and then we go around and we canvass all the neighbors and all the businesses. We hand out flyers that advertise about FAQs, with some pictures and like what they can expect with the village, what the plan is, and then please come to this community meeting that we're starting to get back into in person. For the last 2 years, they've been over Zoom. So we're starting, we bring everyone together to hear them out and then share information about the site. And hopefully they go away feeling a lot more understanding of what we're doing with this program. So we also organize a community advisory council for each village. So this exists for all 16 sites. This includes close by neighbors, businesses, providers, faith organizations, and others who come together to provide oversight, input, and support. They meet monthly. We also meet with any group by request. Anybody who's interested in having me come and share this with your other group or neighbors, let me know. And then we follow up promptly our staff with any questions, concerns, or offers of support or donations. So just a couple shots of some of our community allies out there and partners. So this is Senator Mona Das, Senator Karen Kaiser. Karen Kaiser is actually in the middle on both of them. There's Representative Tina Orwell on the left. Kent City Council Member Brenda Fincher, who's been just a huge leader of this program in the city of Kent and trying to encourage that city, the city council, and the community to come together to support a village there. We also have this amazing community organizer, Ty Whitfield, who I work closely with. And then on the Community Advisory Council of Progressive Skyway Village is Hannah Ferguson, who's also part of the Skyway Coalition. And a few of our staff members are in these pictures as well. We had a visit from the city of Tukwila and from Kent allies that came out to visit our sites. And because we're actually right now planning not just South End Village, but we're planning 2 villages in the city of Tukwila and then a village in Kent. So we're working with King County on the funding of those sites. And it just passed actually through the Tukwila City Council overwhelmingly to not only support 2 tiny house villages there, but to fast track them. And then we're right now in the process of doing the same thing with the city of Kent, which may take a little bit longer. So we're just that's a lot of what I do right now is working with those 2 cities. And by the way, I should say I live in Tukwila. I'm just outside Seattle, so I'm really close to Rainier Beach. And I go every day to Rainier, well, not every day, but a couple days a week. I'd like to think it was every day, to my gym there, which is Planet Fitness. I go up there all the time. And then, yeah, this is the ways to get involved. So if you want to volunteer, donate meals, or other essential items like hygiene items. When winter comes back around, we're going to have a big coat drive. So you can email Allah Hassan, whose email address is on the screen, if you want to join one of our community advisory councils, if you're close to a tiny house village or you're a stakeholder in some way, anything that kind of gets you, basically you work or go to a church or serve with an organization that is involved with that village or close to that village, you would qualify to be on one of these CACs. So just reach out to me. And I think many of you would qualify to be on the South End Village CAC, which we will be forming. So please, let me know, and that's my email address on the screen. Just a couple ways, and then if you want to have me come present, if you want to come volunteer at the Hope Factory, if you want to, volunteer to help with setup of any village and come on site to do that, just let us know. And I'm going to end the show and open it up to questions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Are there any questions?
What is, I have a question. How, with such great need, what is your criteria for deciding who gets a tiny house?
We work with, so like in the city of Seattle, we work with the Hope Team, which is the homeless outreach provider ecosystem. And they actually provide the referrals to the site. And they go around and they work with organizations like Reach and Chief Seattle Club and others who do the direct outreach to folks who are experiencing homelessness in Seattle. And it's often, tents that are in a park or something like that. And then they'll provide the outreach and they'll refer them to villages. And they'll kind of base it on, we have a couple of sites that are like harm reduction model villages, and then others that are more like for families with children. So that different kind of models out there. And they kind of identify like, where would you succeed in a village? Would you, are you in, a lot of times, like somebody's in recovery, they can't be in a site where there's other people that might be using, right?
Right.
So it's important for them to be in that site. And then if there's somebody, a single example, like a single mother with a child, like they need to be in a, not at all in a harm reduction model site, right? And then somebody who's really struggling with addiction that needs that behavioral health support, that would, it's good to refer them to one of the ones with that behavioral health specialist there. Like Lake Union Village is an example of that. So they kind of do that, but then we also have like True Hope Village, TC Spirit Village have like 5 to 7 agencies providing referrals. So we really, it's not actually Lehigh that provides a lot of the referrals. If we work with these organizations that know folks who are experiencing homelessness, right in the neighborhood. So they're serving the neighborhood's needs, where the village is sited. So that's kind of how they do how they identify the referrals. I will say, just to elaborate on that a little bit, it is really important that that somebody who's referred to a village can obviously live in a community and can be respectful of that community, because that's the commitment we make to the neighborhood whenever we're going to do a village, and that's a commitment we make to all the residents that we serve, that it's going to be a safe community. So we want to make sure that somebody understands that when you're going to go live at a village, you have to be part, in that code of conduct is like doing chores, participating in some way in the village's success. We're not going to like, somebody coming in and they're going through a lot of challenges. We're going to work with them, obviously. But that is a part of it, is that somebody has to be able to live within a community.
Right.
I just was interested in one of those housekeeping details about, do people have chores? I mean, it's never easy to live communally in the best of situations. I mean, are people required to do so many service hours? How does that work? Just in the maintenance and upkeep?
Yeah, so in the code of conduct, we have everyone's kind of required to do chores. They're required to work with the case manager. They have to do on a housing plan. They have to be making some kind of progress. And it's really just kind of meeting with the case manager, like regularly meeting with the case manager a couple times a month is really the only requirement. And then it's it's like keeping quiet hours, so you can't play your music so loud at certain hours, late at night or early morning. And so we just have kind of those rules in place. But I think the thing is, like, if somebody is we have a couple of villages where there's folks that are coming in with some really serious challenges, where the struggle for them is getting out of bed. It's just getting out of bed, and that's we're not gonna have as high of expectations around, we're gonna help those folks out in those situations, but we're not going to like expect them to be able to get into housing right away, because they're going to have some things they're going to need to work on, mental health support with their behavioral health specialists and and work on those things. So while we do have that in the code of conduct, I mean, we really kind of look case by case to see if it's somebody that just needs a little bit of extra support, and maybe that it's a strict application of the rules. It does not work in this situation.
Josh,
Mhm.
I'd like to say I really appreciated your presentation. I learned so much, and I will be in touch with you or somebody, because my church, we had an overflow shelter from St. Martin de Porres overflow that we did during 6 months of the year. And over the last couple of years, nothing's happened. And we've finally finalized that we're closing our project. And I think this would be a great segue into another way we can help. And so I'll be in touch with them, and then let you guys know, or we'll get in touch. So thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Might want to do a presentation at our group.
Sure.
When they just wrote the letter to the parish explaining everything, and I don't know if I can cut it off before they send it out saying we're closed up, before we can say we've got a new avenue, but I'll see what I can do.
Okay, thank you, Carol. That sounds really good. I'd be happy to do that, and I'm going to throw my contact information in the chat.
Josh, I have a question on funding. Is most of your funding coming from the city or the state or the federal government or other nonprofits? How does that work?
Well, the housing is coming. It's a lot of times it's funding coming from multiple sources. It's HUD, it's state, and then there's let's see, there's like the villages are funded usually by the cities that they're in, like the city of Seattle funds the villages there. However, I should caveat that the contracting went from the Human Services Department with the city of Seattle over to the King County Regional Homeless Authority, KCRHA, if you ever hear me say that, that's the acronym for it. And so that began at the start of the year. So they're kind of like officially funding it at this point. And then City of Bellingham, City of Tacoma, City of Olympia, at all those cities, they fund their villages, the operational costs, I should say. And then in Skyway, that's funded by King County. So it's kind of like the housing is like federal and state, there's a combination of funding sources through grants and everything. And then the villages are usually by the cities.
I have a question. How do you find the land for your village sites?
So a lot of times people reach out to us. So like lately what happens is like a church will reach out and say, hey, I have a plot of land that is available right next to my church, and I'd like to host a tiny house village. So they'll, and then we go and look at the land and we see, does it connect pretty easily? Are utilities and everything there on site, utilities and hookups to water and electricity and all that. So we go and we check it out. We see how, is it close to a transit line? I mean, there's a lot of considerations that go into place for this. And then when it comes to like looking around for sites, we do actually go around and try to identify sites that are appropriate. We've done that before, but it's kind of a combination of people a lot of times coming to us with land that's available, and then us just going out and looking for it, and then going to the city of Seattle or whoever whichever city it is, and say, hey, we see this land here, we think a village could work well here. And then sometimes that leads a good direction where we can start, it's like we start just looking at that site and planning, working with the city council, and then that might lead to development of a village there. So it kind of depends on if the utilities and everything are there on site. And there's a lot of things that kind of go into play in deciding what is appropriate land for a village.
So is it basically a lease arrangement with the property owner?
See, we have 5 like faith sponsored villages. So that's like on the property of the church, and then we enter into a lease with the church. In that case, we have land. We have a village on Port of Seattle property. So we have a lease with a port. That one is now funded by the KCRHA, the regional authority. And then let's see, our Rosie's U District site is on Sound Transit property. And then we're also on, let me think about this for a second. We're also on some private property, like non-church private property, a few cases. And then Lehigh is, one of the sites, like Othello Village, is on Lehigh property. And that's where we're developing that affordable housing building I mentioned earlier.
All right.
And then we also own the property that Friendship Heights Village, which is our North Seattle site. And we're going to plan housing, long-term wise, we're going to plan housing on that site as well. So again, it's like a combination of like different, us, faith organizations, city entities that own these properties.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Josh, is there a deadline for when you need to join the advisory panel?
No. You can join a CAC before it starts going, and I start planning it together. And then you can get on that big list that I send out when I do a big email where I announce it, I roll it out. But then even after that, you can join the CAC throughout its duration. So in fact, we just started we used to be like, oh, it has to be 7 to 10 members. And now we have CACs that are 13 or 14 or 15 people. And that, that we just decided that's okay. So it seems like if you have a lot of people that are interested in serving on these, then why say no to that? So we've, so some of these, every village has a CAC. We're right now in the process of forming the South End Village CAC. So we're trying to figure out, we're trying to get to the point of opening that site, which is several weeks off still. And then we're gonna start planning that CAC. So yeah, reach out to me and I can send an application. And then if anyone is close to Othello Village, close to Georgetown Village, TC Spirit, True Hope, any of those, or you have some association with it, like I said, you go to a church or you work at a business or whatever, own a business near one of those sites, and you want to serve on a CAC, let me know. And even if you just want to come to a couple, you want to come to a meeting to see what it's like, see if it floats your boat, and you're still interested after going to one, let me know, and I'll let you know. I'll pass along the information for it. They're usually like 4 or 5 or 6 is when they start in the evening on a weekday, Monday through Thursday. That's usually when they are. Oh yeah, we'd love to have. If you're interested in joining, please reach out. We're always looking for more members. So, and they're a big part of the success of the village and the residents.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have one final question, perhaps. If you looked out 5 years from now, where would you like to see more of these villages?
Well, let's see. So, wow, that's like an interview question you get. Like if you could look out 5 years, that's like a tricky one. I'm just thinking out the next 3 months, So, I think that there, homelessness is all over the region at this point. We really, I'd like us to do more villages in Seattle, and to really partner with the KCRHA on doing this, and Mayor Harrell, doing more of these villages in Seattle. But I really think that there's a lot of cities out there that could use these services, where they just don't exist. A lot of places where homelessness is spiking and there's no shelter or very few shelter options. So I think South King County is a lot of, I live in South King County now, so I can get around easily down here, and I think just adding some more villages in South King County, and even Yakima's reaching out to us. They want to do a village. So even just going across the state, going across the Cascade Curtain and helping out cities over there as well, and going to the north, south, west, everywhere. So, but the other thing is that we just had a groundbreaking yesterday in Sandpoint, part of Seattle, for this cottage project. So we just opened these cottages, which are 400 square feet. They're larger, much larger than the tiny houses, and they have the bathrooms and the kitchens and everything right inside the cottage. They still have large kitchen space. People want to use it, a community space. They've got a children's play area, and it's all it's very nicely laid out right in Magnuson Park, So I'm thinking one thing we want to do is look at how can we expand, how can we look at these other type of models. And this is permanent housing, by the way. This cottage community is permanent housing. So we want to think about how can we expand the model so that it's, where it's possible and where we can do it quickly and easily, and it makes sense to do these like cottages, to do these cottage communities, and that are like permanent housing, and are significantly less expensive than just building a whole building. And you're in you're in a nice little house rather than in a room in an apartment building, right? So like, how can we expand that? And then we just got to build so much more permanent supportive housing. I mean, that's really the key to it. There's nothing magical about this. Like, we just need a lot more deeply affordable permanent housing across the region, to help solve this crisis.
Thank you. Well, thank you very, very much. I learned a lot, and from the questions, you can tell everybody seemed to learn a lot and is interested in perhaps helping out. And we do share our recordings so that anybody else who missed the meeting is able to hear them too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone.
All right.
I left my contact information in there, so please reach out if you have any interest in volunteering or serving on the CAC, or if you just have any questions, or if you want me to come present in front of a group, please let me know.